We're here for this special day to dedicate the tennis courts in the name of Dr. Ginny Overdorf, who, through her incredible generosity, we celebrate not only her dedication to William Patterson University, but also her incredible early advocacy for Title IX and women in sports at William Patterson University.
All right. Well, first of all, I've known Ginny since 1969 when I first got here, and I took a class with her, and that's when I got to know the Ginny Overdorf that we all know today. And she's only gotten better. I mean, she was something else then, but she got better. So I, at one point, became the manager of the women's tennis team, and it was probably the best semester I ever had. And she is quite the tornado, and she is something to behold. So I really feel honored to be here to help her have her name put on these tennis courts.
Oh my gosh, for Ginny, it's timely and so fitting that these courts be dedicated to her. She's touched so many lives in and outside of the classroom. I met Ginny in 1970, played for her on her tennis and field hockey teams. Never a losing season. And the character you interviewed before me, yeah, I used to ride in a van with him. He was our male manager, and we had a great year. Ginny's like a fine wine. She's only improved with age. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to William Patterson University and the dedication of the Dr. Ginny Overdorf tennis courts. Today is a momentous day for both the university and for Ginny. While we gather today for the naming of the tennis courts, we are also recognizing her commitment and philanthropic generosity to the university. And what makes Ginny stand apart from her counterparts is her early and important advocacy of Title IX and women in sports. So as you will hear today, it's about so much more than just these tennis courts. Today is a celebration of Ginny's tenacity, leadership, and now her legacy. Her legacy. It is my pleasure to introduce Michael Sieve, the chair of the university's Board of Trustees and president of Mountain Development, to the podium. Michael?
So I'm like Fred. Thank you, Pam. This is indeed an exciting day as we recognize a generous donation by Dr. Virginia Ginny Overdorf, Professor Emerita to William Patterson University. As we celebrate this gift today with the dedication of the Dr. Ginny Overdorf tennis courts, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Dr. Overdorf. Dr. Virginia Overdorf earned her bachelor's degree in liberal arts with an emphasis in physical education from Ohio Wesleyan University. She went on to earn a master's degree in physical education from Indiana University, a master's degree in psychology from Montclair State, and a master's and doctoral degrees in education from Teachers College, Columbia University. In 1967, she joined the kinesiology faculty at William Patterson University. And during her 45-year tenure on campus, she was a dedicated teacher, an active researcher, and a winning coach who was committed to service to the campus community and to her academic discipline. In addition to teaching numerous courses in her field, she lectured and wrote for scholarly journals on conditioning and exercise, the skills and strategy of tennis, and eating disorders in women, particularly female athletes, a research project that received funding from the Ronald McDonald Children's Charities. Dr. Overdorf has held numerous leadership positions on campus, including chair of her department, chair and vice chair of the faculty senate, coordinator of the freshman seminar, and director of the Institute for Creative Aging. Among her many professional achievements, she served as president of the Eastern District Association of the American Alliance for Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance, which presented her with its highest recognition, the Honor Award. In addition to her role as a faculty member, Dr. Overdorf was a dedicated coach who founded our women's tennis program in 1970. During her 17 seasons with the team, her record was 244 wins and 82 losses, and the team never had a losing season. She was named the NCAA Division III Tennis Coach of the Year, and she was inducted into the William Patterson University's Athletic Hall of Fame in 1993. Now, through this gift to William Patterson, the tennis program will benefit from increased support and programming opportunities that will assist in recruiting athletic talent to our university. We are grateful, and we are personally impressed for Dr. Overdorfer's generosity and support for William Patterson University. And on behalf of the Board of Trustees, it is my honor to recognize her today. And I would now like to turn the microphone over to 3 guest speakers who will say some personal words about Dr. Overdorf. Sandy?
Thank you very much. This has been an interesting run for Ginny and the original members of the team, one of which I was. It is truly an honor for me to be here today to represent all of the student athletes who were so positively influenced by Dr. Virginia Overdorf during her long career at William Patterson. Ginny arrived, as already stated, at William Patterson in 1967, and students found that she was enthusiastic, energetic, knowledgeable, and approachable. She also proved to have very high standards, was a taskmaster, a bit of a nonconformist, would you say? I would say she was a nonconformist, and a free thinker both in her teaching and coaching. The dedication of the William Patterson tennis courts in honor of Ginny is well earned and deserved. Ginny put tremendous effort forth to develop the team in 1968 and to have the young women team members participate in competition tournaments throughout the country. Those efforts brought opportunities for players' personal accomplishments, as well as recognition for them, William Patterson, and Ginny. Please indulge me a bit. My background was in teaching high school and being an administrator in elementary, so I had to use different approaches to get some messages across. So indulge me as I switch to a bit of a quote-unquote poetry to honor and reveal more about who Ginny was as a teacher and coach for the William Patterson tennis team. The title is She Was an Excellent Teacher Coach, we all know. The tennis teams for William Patterson were very fortunate to have a coach named Jen, who encouraged all to be the best they could be and convinced that all of them could win. And somewhat ahead of her times, she was into that sport psychology thing. Were you not? She's guilty, even though she won't admit it. She was an excellent coach, we all know. Who was it who had us run, jump rope, and drilled us on ground strokes, serves, lobs, and the overhead smash for so long that at times we all felt, you know the next line, to the courts we would crash. She was an excellent coach, we all know. Who was it who, as she took us to our competitors' courts, insisted that we play hard and always be good sports? She was an excellent coach, we all know. Who could hit shots hard, high and low, and whose feet, brain, and mouth were never slow? Sorry, Jenny. Not really, but I'm not sorry. It's the truth. And who was it, and still is, constantly on the go? She was an excellent coach, we all know. Who was it who, with dedication did serve, and this recognition so deserve, Ginny Overdorf? Thank you, Ginny, for all you did to help us grow as young women and athletes and scholars, some of us more so than others, including myself. I was on the weaker end. But she did so much more beyond being a tennis coach. She taught us how to grow up and be positive influencers in our careers. And for that, and for being our coach and mentor, I truly represent all of those people with whom I worked and all the people with whom I played. And we thank Ginny very much. Thank you very much.
Better sit down for this one. That's what I figured in. Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming to honor this terrific woman. I feel deeply honored to speak about Dr. Virginia Overdorf. My name is Ann Capobianco. I was captain of the 1974 tennis team. She has been my professor, my coach, my mentor, and part of my family. Dr. Overdorf was a highly regarded sectional tennis player in the Eastern section, winning many women's and mixed doubles tournaments. We really truly had a coach who was an excellent player and a wonderful example to all of us. Ginny was fiercely competitive, still is. When you stepped out on the court, you were supposed to give nothing but your best. I think Sandy also alluded to that. That is just what every player did on every single team. That's why there was never a losing record. Ginny was tough but fair, and you really had to earn your spot on that team. I can remember many playoffs. Maybe you didn't end up where you wanted to, but you were sure happy to play for her. Dr. Overdorf taught many advanced courses in the physical education department. A terrific teacher and tough grader. Your grades were definitely earned in her class. She still corrects my grammar in my texts and emails. Forever a teacher. Can you imagine? Never a losing season since the team's inception. And remember, no scholarships here. Just a good old William Patterson University education and one of the most unbelievable coaches ever. Ginny was also instrumental in taking the team to the South to play in prestigious tennis tournaments like the Mid-Atlantic Lawn Tennis Association. In 1974, the team was so strong that Ginny took one group to that tournament and another set to the New Jersey State Tennis Tournament in Princeton. She always got the best out of her players. She molded us into highly competitive players that were mentally tough on and off the court. A Ginnyism for you. Listen to this one, Sandy. Before one match, she said, okay, warm-ups are not for showing off. Analyze your opponent and pick out their weaknesses and win. During all this, Ginny was teaching a full course load, coaching 2 seasons, and completing her doctorate at Columbia University. We often wondered how she did it. She was like the Energizer Bunny. We were so proud of her when she attained her doctorate. Ginny produced many esteemed players, particularly through 1980 and 87. They were the really strong years in the program. Little William Patterson University had become a powerhouse. At one point, the team was ranked number 2 in the country in their division. And so fittingly, in 1984, Dr. Overdorf was named Coach of the Year. Dr. Overdorf, I thank you on behalf of many students, especially your tennis players. You have instilled in us a work ethic, a desire to win, and a desire to be a good human being. It is timely and fitting that William Patterson University's Tennis Center be named for Dr. Overdorf. I am forever grateful to my professor, my coach, and my lifelong friend. Congratulations, Coach.
Good afternoon. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Arnie Speart, and I'm a former president of this fabulous university. I'm delighted to join you today to celebrate the naming of the tennis courts on campus in honor of my longtime colleague and friend, Dr. Ginny Overdorf. When I arrived here on campus in September of 1970 as a faculty member, Ginny already stood out as both a faculty member and as a coach who was beginning to make her mark as she launched our women's tennis program. However, I believe she and I bonded with one another during a conversation sometime in the 80s about our beginnings at William Patterson. Ginny began to say that she felt I should know one thing about her. I finished her sentence with, "When you sued the college?" She said, "Oh, you know about that?" Then I told her that one of my earliest administrative assignments was to maintain files in the Vice President for Academic Affairs office, and hers was at least 4 large accordion files. You see, Ginny successfully sued over the unfair differences between the salaries of male and female coaches. Over the years, I've admired those characteristics of hers that prevailed in the early 70s, her tenacity, mentioned before, her sense of fair play, and her dedication to the university. She continued to be guided by those characteristics as she took on numerous roles in service to the institution and to her academic discipline. Faculty governance, opportunities for new and developing colleagues, and academic excellence were mainstays of her efforts. Now, both Ginny and the university have come full circle with this gift that demonstrates Ginny's enduring love for her sport, for William Patterson student athletes, and for this university. Congratulations, Ginny, on the naming of the Dr. Ginny Overdorf tennis courts in your honor, and thank you for your devotion to and support of William Patterson University and our students. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the president of William Patterson University, Richard Heldobler.
Thanks, Arnie. It's always great to have you back here on campus. I want to welcome everyone and thank you all for being here this afternoon to celebrate Professor Emerita Ginny Overdorf and the naming of our campus tennis courts in her honor. And so many of you have talked about the fact that even post-tennis career, Ginny continued to coach. And yesterday we were playing at the golf and tennis outing, and she paired me with Nancy there, who played for William Patterson, was number 2 in the country at one point, and we were changing sides, and Ginny says to me, "You're both playing back." And I said, "Yes, we're both baseliners." And she goes, "You can't win if you don't play the net." So she's still coaching and even coaching me, and I never even really played for her. But I also want to extend a welcome to Board of Trustees Chair and Foundation Board Member Mike Seif, who you heard from earlier, and Foundation Board Member Bill Duffy, who is also here, but also John Galandek, who is our Vice Chair of the Board of Trustees. Thank you both. Thank you all for being here and for your great leadership and service to William Patterson and our students. This naming of the Dr. Ginny Overdorf tennis courts recognizes Ginny's generous support and will ensure the long-term upkeep of this wonderful facility and the development of our women's tennis program. Just as importantly, it will honor her role as the founder of the women's tennis program here at William Patterson and as the woman who nurtured and grew the program over the decades since as a coach, supporter, fan, and now donor. As many of you know, as I said before, tennis is very special to me. We played yesterday in the very first golf and tennis outing just down the road at the Preakness Hill Country Club. Appropriately and typically of her tireless support for the university, Ginny served as the tennis chair for this event. One of the many great things about tennis is that it is a sport that can be played throughout your lifetime. You can be a young adult and play competitively at a very high level, like members of our Pioneer tennis team, but when you grow older and slow down, and perhaps, like me, lose your ability to move to every ball, you can still have fun and get a great workout. So I'm so thrilled that Ginny's generous support will help tennis at William Patterson thrive in the years ahead. And I'm grateful that I have had a time with Ginny to get to know her and get to know her story, and especially when I need a little help with my backhand. Ginny's record during her 17 years as a coach speaks for itself. A 75% winning percentage, the National Division III Tennis Coach of the Year honors, leading 5 teams to the NCAA national competitions and top 10 rankings, and many other accolades that others have spoken about. However, the greatest testament to Ginny's caliber as a coach and leader is not in the numbers, as impressive as they are. Instead, I would argue that it is the character of the young women that she coached, as well as the success of the students that she taught as a professor in the kinesiology department, where she played an important role in the development of its academic and degree programs. I'm so glad that many of the women who played tennis for Coach Overdorf over the years are here with us today to celebrate her. Her success in the classroom and on the courts, as well as other professional and personal successes in the years since, exemplify the kind of people and players who came through the program under her leadership. They're the kind of people who continue to compete on the courts and proudly represent William Patterson today. As with all the Pioneer athletic teams, our tennis players are student athletes in the truest sense, and no one knows that better than Ginny. As a professor and a coach, Ginny had unique insights into the way academic success in the classroom and athletic success on the court, which is measured much more than in just wins, are mutually reinforcing. She helped establish a culture of success in her teams and across William Patterson athletics. And that legacy lives on. And remember, a team's record, while important, is far from the only measure of its success. Our student athletes bring their own work ethic, determination, and team spirit to all that they do, just as Ginny did and continues to do. She brought that commitment to her teaching and her long-time service as a department chair, and of course, her coaching. But she has also done so through many other less visible, but no less meaningful ways over her more than 5 decades as a member of the William Patterson community. Not many people can match the breadth and the duration of Ginny's service to and support for William Patterson. Yet people like her, people who get deeply involved in the life of the institution, start new programs, help others grow, people who stay involved with the university long after they formally retire, are at the heart of every successful higher education institution. So Ginny, I want to thank you for this wonderful gift. I want to thank you for all that you've done and you continue to do for William Patterson and our students. And I think what's important for all of us to recognize is that by naming the tennis courts in honor of Dr. Overdorf, it's not just a representation of and a symbol of her legacy as a coach, but I think it's also a symbol and it's a reminder that Title IX matters, equity and opportunity for women in sports and in all areas matter, and Ginny was one of the earliest champions on our campus for those efforts. So thank you, Ginny, and we are so, so grateful. So Ginny, just on behalf of the university, this is just a small token to commemorate the naming of the courts in your honor, and we are so happy to have you here with us to celebrate. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, thank you. And now you're on. I think you're on.
Oh no.
Yep. Okay. You're up.
Oh, I can't see it. Well, it's such an honor, and I just can't even believe all the things that were said today, and I'm not sure I recognize who they were talking about all the time. But it certainly were wonderful words I was getting. I want to thank everybody, but before I do that, I would like to give a little bit of history, which many of you may not know, and some of you will. There's some who will, Sandy. Probably some others too. But when we started the tennis team, well, the way this all started, by the way, is I was coaching field hockey. Sandy's brother Ross was playing on my team, and it turned out that the second year I think that she was playing, there was a men and women tennis club, and she came to me and asked if I would be the advisor. I said, "Oh, but I don't know much about tennis. I don't know that I could do that." And she said, "All you have to do is sign your name." I said, "I can do that." It is. And it didn't stop there, though. That spring, she came to me and said, "We would like to the women on the club team would like to have other schools to play. Could you get us a schedule for next year?" I said, "I told you I didn't know a whole lot about tennis. Now you want me to get you a schedule and coach you next year?" She said, "Yeah, that's what I want." So I got them 7 matches, and we won 5 of them, actually. And Sandy had assured me that they would help me. They would teach me tennis. Well, that they did, I'm sure. But that's not all. I had to know myself. So I went to many, many clinics. I went to, I don't know, anyone know Vandermeer from South Africa? He was very well known in the States as a top coach. I went to him. I went to Vic Braden, Siggy here. He went with me. And he's the best. He had a biomechanics person, Gideon Ariel, on his group out there, and so they were the best in the country. We went out to California and did that. And I took private lessons myself from a very good pro over in the Ridgewood Country Club. You know that, Steve, right? And we play with CK. And so I got to know a lot more about tennis. I knew how to coach, but I didn't know the tennis. So I had to do all these things to learn. When we started the team, there were absolutely no courts on campus. This is beautiful back here, and Steve, you were wonderful to get that. It was looking so nice and in time for this day. But there were no courts, and so we would. Do I tell a story or not? Okay, so we had to go and play wherever we could find free courts. I don't know how many of you really knew this story, so I wanted even the players that came later to know this story, because we did a lot to try to find places to play. One day, we were playing at the Hawthorne tennis courts, and this silly guard came over and thought he could throw us off the court because we were not members of the Hawthorne community. Well, one of my players stepped up and gave him a few nasty words, which caused him to take her to the police station. Should I tell you who it is? So I had to get everybody off the courts, and then I had to go and retrieve Sandy from the police station. So she's a nice person, let her go. So that was a little difficult, and it was a learning experience, I'd say, too. But We all learned from that, didn't we? But that's how we all fought for this program to get started. We finally found a home. Anyone remember the Frank Brennan Tennis Center up on 17? That became, I don't know if you know Frank Brennan. He was famous for being the coach of the famous Billie Jean King in the early days. But he had a indoor tennis facility there, and he had outdoor courts that weren't being used a lot. So we went and used those courts, and those were our home courts. And as somebody said, we never had a losing season, and that's because of all of you who are here today. And I'm going to make some more comments about that soon. I would like to thank a number of people who made this possible. You never do something like this on your own. First, I'd like to thank my wonderful parents who gave me so much, gave me the belief that I could do things, gave me opportunities, gave me so much, and that I'll never forget. And Mom and Dad, thanks. And then I would like to thank the administration. Pam, I'd like to thank you first because you did a lot to really make this day happen. And she's been doing this for not just 1 year, but a few years. And Pam, I really appreciate it and appreciate everything you've done to just make this happen. And Steve, I'd also like to thank you for all your support all the time, too. Steve Boyer was the former retired VP of Finance and Administration and one of my tennis partners through the years, the last 10 years or so. And I thank you for everything and your support, too, for this program, Steve. And these courts look wonderful, don't they? Yeah. And I want to thank our new, I didn't know Arnie was going to be here, but I certainly want to thank Arnie, too, for his wonderful comments and for being on the opposite side of a lot of my issues through the years. And faculty administration, you know. And then coming around, though, and making everything so right for us and saying such wonderful words today. He and I are good friends. He when he comes down to Sarasota, he calls me and he has lunch with me. So we are good friends, and we talk about it, and he said that's the way it's supposed to be. Faculty are on one side, administrators are on the other side. So it's okay. You did say that. Ask your wife. and our new president, Rich, who I'm so fortunate to have gotten to know. I think I've said this to many people, I think he's the right president at the right time for this university. And it's so wonderful that he started this tennis fundraiser too. And of course he's a tennis player, and he's quite a good tennis player. Nancy, true? She played with him yesterday. And so, Rich, I thank you for everything you've done and for really making this happen. Rich came down to see me in Florida, and that's how we got this all going and had made it a reality. It's been talked about for a number of years, but it's now a reality. So then I want to thank, no one is here from athletics, are they? Oh, Kristen, thank you. Sabrina's not here. Well, I just pass on to them that I appreciate the support that she gave to the team through the years. And even though she arrived from Queens College when she was a player and student and used to beat up on my first singles player, Chris Sandbo, right, Marla? But and in fact, I encouraged her to come and take this job as the associate athletic director. I think that's what she was at the time. I don't remember for sure. Then she became athletic director too, she was wonderful, and I passed that on to her. And so was Martha Meek, and I was hoping she would get here today because who talked about the two tournaments? Yeah. Martha took the one team to the States, and I went with the other team. So Martha was very supportive of the program too. So the department the Department of Athletics has been supportive in a lot of ways for our program. Then, of course, the most important people are the players. all of you here today, and I'd like everyone who is a former player on the William Patterson team to either stand or raise your hand so you can all say, I did challenge them, and I did demand a lot from them. But they all seemed to rise to the occasion. And quit doing that, Lisa. They did rise to the occasion. And they did it without complaints. At least I didn't hear them. So if they were complaining, they kept them from me. And that was probably a good idea, too. Because it could have gotten worse. But I want to recognize two players in particular. I mean, all of you are just so important to me, and you give such a legacy to this university from what you did. But I do want to recognize Marla Zeller, so you know who she is, who was a wonderful first singles player on the team and was a very good player and a good net player. She was playing serve and volley when nobody had heard of it yet. That threw a lot of people. And she was, I think, probably cheated a little bit because of the time she played, because they didn't have the tournaments for women at that time. For a lot of you, you were cheated from that because a lot of our teams would have been very nationally recognized, I'm sure. And the other person, when Marla graduated, she stayed on as my assistant coach until I quit. And for Marla, I really appreciate your help with that. Is that a storm? And the other person I'd like to recognize, who's already been sort of recognized, but in 1984 we went out to play a tournament in California, and the team did really well. By the way, the team was never ranked number 2 in the country, but we were ranked in the top 5 on several occasions, and that's quite an achievement in itself. The number 2 in the country in 1984 was none other than Nancy Sharkey Wilson. Stand, please. Stand up. You deserve it. And she did play with the president yesterday, and they won the tournament. Surprise. And all my friends, what did you say? From the baseline, yes. All my friends and family are here. Jackie, my cousin, Jackie, where are you now? Oh, there you are. Came down from Albany to be here. My neighbors from across the street where I lived, Frosna and her mom. And I thank so many of you for being here. And Tony, my longtime friend, he dated some of my tennis players way back. And we became good friends. And Kathy, my former secretary. But I really do appreciate all of you and how hard you did work to make this program so successful. And I hope that this naming of this court, I can't say enough about it. It's such a wonderful legacy. But I think that a real legacy is in the lives that we touch and the inspirations that we give. And I hope that I've touched your lives, because you've certainly touched my lives in so many ways, my life in so many ways, and I appreciate it. And thank you so much to everybody, university, my players, for this wonderful honor, because this is not something I could have accomplished without you. It took all of us to do this. Thank you so much.